Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here. Well, this is it. It's been 10 weeks and 10 episodes, but here we are with the final Season 1 Star Trek Picard deep dive, where I take a look at the hidden bits, canon connections, and Easter eggs in episodes of Star Trek Picard. This one for the season finale, Et in Arcadia Ego Part 2. As always, I do like to pick out a scene that isn't necessarily a continuity connection, but just one that I really liked. And I have to say, Narek has been a hit or miss character for me over the course of this season, but he does get one very great line in this episode when he's confronted by Elnor on La Sirena, and he says, "I very much choose to live." I loved this moment. I thought it was great. Harry Treadaway, again, is someone that I hope we see maybe more of in Season 2 somehow. We don't know what becomes of his character at the end of this episode, so here's hoping Star Trek Picard producers bring him back for Season 2. Again, I may be the only one that wants that, but I think it would be pretty cool. At one point, Narek is acquainting the La Sirena crew of the tale of Ganmadan, the Romulan Armageddon, in a really cool campfire ghost story type atmosphere outside La Sirena. At one point during this, he mentions that the tale may date back to before their ancestors first arrived on Vulcan. This caused many Star Trek fans watching to kind of perk their ears up and raise a brow, but I think this references an episode of the original series, Return to Tomorrow, where the crew of the Enterprise meets Sargon's people, and they claim that they may have been the source of people all around the galaxy. Dr. Ann Mulhall says that humans are believed to have evolved on Earth, but Spock chimes in saying that that may explain some of Vulcan's history. So it's possible that this is a reference to that, to the first proto-Vulcans arriving on Vulcan millennia or hundreds of thousands of years ago. This would definitely fit in with the admonition timeline, which is 100 or 200,000 years ago, according to previous episodes of Picard. In watching these last two episodes, I was really struck by the similarities between Altan Soong and an ancestor of his, Eric Soong, from the three-part episode Borderlands, Cold Station 12, and The Augments in Season 4 of Star Trek Enterprise. Like that episode, Soong sees his charges as his children. In Enterprise, it was augmented humans. In this, it's androids. However, Soong in that Enterprise three-parter took a much longer time to kind of come around than Altan Soong did. It's possible that he learned his lesson from studying his family history. Once he sees that Sutra is capable of murder, he realizes that the androids, in his eyes, are just as bad as humans are. So he quickly joins the La Sirena crew in their attempt to overthrow them, unlike Eric Soong, who took a bit of time to come around on that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting parallel. Intentional, I'm not sure, but it was definitely one that struck me while watching this episode. Another little bit that I just want to highlight here, Picard has a pair of really great lines when he says that fear is an incompetent teacher, and then followed up by one of my absolute favorite now of all time Picard quotes when he says, "To be alive is both a right and a responsibility." I thought these were very Picardian and excellent sentiments for our favorite former captain to make. Shortly after this, we get Picard's famous line of "make it so." However, it was not said by Picard, but by Jurati, which brings a bit of a smile to the former captain's eyes. I thought this was a nice moment. I've kind of been waiting all season for a "make it so." We got Engage early on, and we'll get another one a little later, but it was kind of nice to hear this line, even if it's not said by Picard. Another little bit here that cast my mind back to a previous episode of Star Trek. If you remember the TNG episode The Offspring, where we met Data's first daughter, Lal, there's this amusing scene where Lal is testing her reflexes and trying to catch a ball and is unable to do so very well. It looks as though Soji may have learned a lot more than Lal did, as this particular catch looks like it was definitely inspired by that earlier scene. We get a face-off between Seven of Nine and Narissa, And this is a pretty epic fight, and one that I'm really glad to see that 7 of 9 wins. During the fight, Narissa taunts 7 by calling her poor Queen Annika. This is, of course, referring to her name before she was assimilated, Annika Hansen. She also talks about her assimilation, saying 6 years old and the only birthday gift she got was assimilated. We saw the story of how 7 of 9 was assimilated in the Voyager episode The Raven, as well as the events leading up to that in the 2-hour episode Dark Frontier. 7 of 9 emerges victorious over Narissa, kicking her into a chasm and saying that this is for Hugh. Hugh, of course, was killed by Narissa a number of episodes earlier, something that I definitely felt the sting of when it happened, so I'm glad that 7 gets revenge on her for it here. However, we don't know for sure, is Narissa dead? We've seen several times where her life was threatened and she beamed away at the last moment. It's possible that that system is still online, and unseen off camera, she may have beamed away to safety. I kind of hope so for the sake of Peyton List, the actor who plays Narissa and who did an admirable job this season, but also, I don't know. It'd be sad if 7's revenge came to naught here as well. As La Sirena is making its way through the Orchids to face the Romulan fleet, Dr. Girardi makes reference to the Picard maneuver, mistakenly saying that Picard did it on the Enterprise. Picard corrects her to say it was the Stargazer and outlines the maneuver. It was one in which Picard took the Stargazer to warp for a split second, and the Stargazer appeared to be in 2 places at once, confusing the enemy, which happened to be a Ferengi vessel. They were then able to destroy their attacker. This is all outlined in the TNG episode The Battle from the first season. The tactic they come up with here is kind of a riff on the Picard maneuver, but using the magical doodad that the androids gave them to make the maneuver appear kind of 100 times over. The cavalry arrives when a fleet led by the USS Zheng He arrives in orbit of Coppelius to face down the Romulan fleet. Now, looking at this fleet, it would be easy to think that these are all exactly the same ship, kind of cut and pasted. They are all obviously the same class of vessel. However, if you look carefully, there are definite differences between a number of the ships. I'm able to kind of find about 4 different variants. I'm not sure if there are more, but there are a few changes in nacelle shape and design and that sort of thing. Very subtle, but definitely a few little differences here and there. I was able to see 4. Were you able to see more? Let me know in the comments. Leading the fleet is acting Captain William Riker, who has reactivated his commission after mentioning in the episode Nepenthe that he is still on active reserve status. So it was cool to see him show up leading the fleet and coming to the aid of his former captain Jean-Luc Picard. A nice little touch that I noticed is his way of sitting in the captain's chair is very reminiscent of how we've seen him while in command of other vessels in the past. Riker references the Treaty of Algeron. This is an often mentioned treaty between the Federation and the Romulan Empire, with a number of stipulations such as the establishment of the Romulan neutral zone, as well as the banning of the Federation from developing cloaking technology. It apparently does also have planetary claim clauses in it, as Riker uses that for the Federation's claim on the planet Coppelius. Towards the end of the episode, after Picard's apparent death, Picard encounters Lieutenant Commander Data in a sort of simulation. Data's consciousness was reconstructed by Doctors Sung and Maddox from a positronic neuron and from the memories that Data downloaded into B4. Data sacrificed himself in the movie Star Trek Nemesis, but before that he did copy his memories into B4, and this is what is used to reconstruct his consciousness. However, because that copy was made before his death, he does not remember that event. When Picard has to leave the simulation, the figurative doors to it open, and they open with a familiar sound, the common sound effect used for the doors on Star Trek The Next Generation aboard the Enterprise D. Back in the real world, Picard has a brand new android body that his consciousness is transferred into. This reminded me a lot of the journey of Spock, who had kind of a fresh, brand new regenerated body after his death in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. His Katra was transferred into this regenerated body in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. Similarly, Picard's consciousness is transferred into this new body. Unfortunately, it doesn't have more years on it than he would have had were it not for the brain abnormality. As Data is laid to rest once and for all, a beautiful rendition of Blue Skies is playing. Blue Skies, of course, was the song that Data sang at Riker and Troy's wedding in Star Trek Nemesis, and also the song that B4 began to sing, showing some hope that something of Data survived in him. This particular cover of the song is sung by Issa Briones, Soji/Daj herself. She is an incredible singer and apparently was in the Broadway show Hamilton. Very close to the end of the episode, we get a tender moment between Seven of Nine and Rafi. Beside them is a game of Calto. Calto is a Vulcan game first seen on Star Trek Voyager, often played by Lieutenant Commander Tuvok, and later by Seven of Nine and Harry Kim. And finally, we end the episode with one final engage from our favorite captain. Those were all the Easter eggs that I was able to find. Were there any that you found that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks to the Patreon supporters for their help in bringing this video to you. I really couldn't do it without you. Thank you all so much for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. I will see you in the next video. Until next time, as always, live long and prosper.